Hello, welcome to Speaking of Influence Live. Now, one of the joys of live podcasting is that you don't always know if your guest is going to show up or not. So at the moment, I'm hoping, I have everything crossed, that today's guest is going to show up, and we'll give a minute for that. If you're not already subscribed to the show, please do make sure that you check us out on YouTube. It's a good place to get the full video experience. Look for Present Influence, give us a like and a subscribe, and click that bell notification to make sure that you are always kept informed of new episodes coming out, especially where we have live podcasts with incredible guests, which hopefully we are going to have very shortly for you today. I'm putting together a new title sequence at the moment. It's not quite ready, but by the time you get to see the replay, it will be up and at 'em. So look forward to that. I had a bit of a rebrand here at Speaking of Influence. Today's topic, hopefully, is going to be making money with speaking. Now, I think this is an area that many people want to know about, people who actually want to do full-time professional speaking, and of course, people who want to perhaps move into the world of professional public speaking as well. So provided our guest turns up, we'll be doing that. If not, we will reschedule, we'll try again. But right now, that's where we're at. If you have questions or questions or comments, if you have knowledge about how to get paid for speaking, or you struggle to get paid for speaking, this could be the episode for you. Please feel free to post your questions into the comments box below. We'll see how we get on. And in the meantime, before we do that, what shall we talk about? Hey, so I don't know if any of you use a lot of Zoom, and you must have seen this video that has been going around of this guy who, this lawyer who accidentally put a kitten face filter onto his Zoom video. It's probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I was almost crying, laughing, watching this, right? I thought it was hilarious. I've been sharing it around. You've probably already seen it. If you haven't, do go and check it out. I don't have it queued up ready to show you the video, but absolutely funny. One of my favorite Zoom fails ever. And so if you're gonna it's a good idea to know how to use your equipment. And if you do recording on Zoom, you do meetings on Zoom, group coaching or group events on Zoom, it can be a very good idea to make sure that you stay aware of how to use these functions, and make sure that if you end up accidentally putting a filter on, or someone else has put a filter on your Zoom for you, that you know how to be able to take it off again afterwards. Otherwise, you too may be the cat trying to tell the judge that, hey, I'm not really a cat, which honestly was just too funny. So we'll give my guest a few more minutes and see if he shows up. We want to have that chat about being able to make money through speaking. If you are a speaker, tell me in the comments. If you want to be a speaker, type a comment in and let me know what you are tuning in for today if you're joining us live. Now, one thing's for sure, in the world of Present Influence and the Speaking of Influence podcast, I get to speak to many professional speakers who are making great money through their speaking and presentations, and some who are just starting out or still figuring those things out for themselves. So there is a clear pathway that needs to be made, and there are distinctions. This isn't going to be the first conversation to be had about making money through public speaking, and certainly not the first conversation in the series of this podcast as well. You will find from earlier episodes, in fact, from an earlier iteration, Speaking of Influence used to be called the Loki podcast. Don't ask me why, it takes far too long to explain. We have been rebranded since then, so it makes a lot more sense now. And you will find episodes there with amazing people like Lee Hayes, who is a speaker manager. So that's in the episode history as well. Check out the episode with Lee Hayes. You will see, I'm trying to remember all the names of people now. You'll see other episodes from other incredible people who really know what they're talking about in terms of being able to make money. And there are also lots of professional speakers and speaker trainers who have been on the show before now. Now, I'm very happy to tell you that my guest has arrived. So let me introduce into the studio, Majeed.
Hey, how's it going, John? Can you hear me?
It's going very well. I need to switch my audio around because you're coming through my speaker instead of my headset. So just give me a moment there. Let's see. I'm probably being very, very quiet here as well because I'm all on the wrong settings. So just give me 1 second because I just realized I'm actually, my microphone isn't plugged in. Hang on. Oh boy, it's a professional operation here, Majeed. I had unplugged my microphone to do a Skype call with somebody on my headset and forgot to plug it back in. I don't have enough USB slots on my computer, apparently. So I've probably just been jabbering on for the last 5 minutes or so, and nobody's really been listening.
I think I could hear you before you changed your microphone, but it looks like we're all set now.
We are. I'm just going to put you through my speakers as well so we don't get feedback on there. Okay, so welcome to the show. I'm very happy to introduce to you my guest. I might make a murder of pronouncing your surname, but Majeed Mogharreban, is that correct?
That's perfect. Thanks, John. Yeah.
Oh, that's good enough then. Now, having looked at Majeed's profile, I don't think I've ever encountered anyone who has had and sold 5 businesses before the age of 21. That's incredible. He's also a known speaker. He's spoken on TED stages and other places. It coaches lots of amazing clients from all around the world and has taken some time out of his busy schedule to come and chat with us today. So Majeed, very glad to have you with us. Tell us a bit more about this. How on earth did you end up having and selling 5 businesses before you were even 21?
You know, the first business I got, I like to tell the story. It was a hot summer day. I'm driving my little bike. I'm riding my bike to the park, 16 years old. I show up to buy a snow cone at the snow cone stand, and there's a sign with 2 words on it. Changed my life forever, John. It said, "For sale." And I asked the person at the snow cone stand, "How much do you want for the business?" She says, $12,000. And across the street, there's a bank. So I bike over to the bank and I say, "How do you borrow $12,000? And they gave me a form and a business plan that you fill in the blank and said, "Get your parents to co-sign this." I biked home with the papers on the handlebars. I showed my dad. I said, I want to borrow $12,000 to buy the snow cone business. And he's like, "Absolutely not. That's a terrible idea." But the next day I had an idea and I asked him, I said, "I think it'll help me get into a good university." And he's like, "Okay, give me those papers. Where do I sign?" He signs the papers. I bike back to the bank and I show the bank person the papers with the signatures and the business plan. And I get a $12,000 certified check and I buy the snow cone business. And I go on to operate the high profit margin business of sugar and food coloring and flavoring and shaved ice. And so I tell this story. This is kind of like my opening story for a entrepreneurship training program I used to do for high schools to teach people how to start a business. You know, you get a loan and you've got costs and expenses. And so that was business 1 of 5. And each one that I sold, I was able to get a big chunk of cash and travel the world. That's what I did as much as I could with my money, is sell business, travel. Eventually I figured, can I just have a business that I can continue to travel and continue to make money? And thus the professional speaker business model was born. And so now I love to travel and speak, and started with the snow cone business.
What point did you move into the speaking side of things then?
So let's see. So I did a university degree in St. Louis, Missouri, in business. Went out and taught English in Japan. That was kind of like my ticket to travel, live abroad, teach English in Japan. Came to Canada. And within the first year, I tried to figure out, what is this motivational speaker business model? You know, there are these people who are so good at giving a speech that companies and schools and organizations pay them money to deliver the speech. So I'm like, you know, what do we got to speak about, and how does that work, and how do I get paid to travel and speak? So I found some mentors. So I would have been probably early 20s. and, sold to high schools and colleges, performances that are, a couple $100, $500. And so built a business, one speech at a time.
That's great. Who were some of the earliest people then in that speaking business who perhaps inspired you, whose footsteps you wanted to follow in?
There was a guy called Bob Urachuk. Bob Urachuk is the first president of the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers in the Ottawa chapter where I was living. So he was one of the most successful professional speakers I had known. And someone, a bunch of people said, go meet this guy. So I went out to his house, and, he can charge $10,000 a keynote, and he's traveling around the world, and he's setting up hubs in Dubai and Singapore. And I'm like, this is exactly what I want, speaking around the world, traveling around the world, making six figures, and, doing it in style. My whole end game from a, outcome and design perspective of what I want my career to do for me, I just wanted to make enough money to travel and see the world and serve people through speeches and education and training. I don't care if it's a day-long speech, a 3-day speech, or a 1-hour speech. I want to teach and travel and not go broke. Right. And so he was doing it. He wrote a book, had a training program for corporates. He did a couple of really cool things, like went to Singapore, called up all the top hotels in Singapore, and he said, look, I'm a sales trainer. I'll train your staff in the evening, 5 days a week for 2 weeks, if you let me stay at your hotel for free. And so the hotel said, yeah, so we're going to get a free world-class sales trainer, come do 2 weeks of sales training. Meanwhile, he's going to the Rotary clubs. No, not the Rotary clubs, the Toastmaster clubs. Okay. He's speaking at all the Toastmaster clubs. And when you plug into an international network that has multiple chapters in every city around the world, whether it's Rotary Club or Toastmasters Club or the Chamber of Commerce. So he was going and networking and building business the old-fashioned way, because, that was 20 years ago, where you build relationships by going to a place and, meanwhile, now I have a virtual coaching business in the high 6 figures that, this is it. I carry it around with me. So it's a bit of a different world for trainers and speakers today. But for me, the goal has always been travel the world with my wife and kids and not go broke doing it.
What then for you is the best thing about being a coach and a speaker?
Well, it's the impact opportunity and the income opportunity. Right now, while you and I are having this conversation live, I'm also teaching other people in my classes, in my courses, in my webinars. They're literally watching me teach them right now because of the magic of recordings and replays.
Yeah.
And so we're able to have such an impact. I think about my kids and the world that they're growing up in, and I'm building out my knowledge onto these courses and into these training groups. And then, of course, we get to see the impact that we have with our work. I focus on functional medicine doctors and holistic healthcare practitioners, helping them develop speeches that get them to help more people. And I get to see the ripple effect of my work. So the impact is huge. And the fact that it's recorded and replayed and building a ongoing asset that's serving the world and serving your business, that you can continue to add more value for your clients. That's, I think, the best opportunity of an expert speaker, trainer, coach, consultant today is these tools we're using right now.
That's fantastic. So is there a downside? And if there is, what is it?
The downside of what exactly?
Of coaching, speaking, doing everything that you do.
The way I run my coaching business is it's 100% dependent on me. There's no other coaches that, if I were to step back, the business would be an entity of coaches. And I don't have that. There are a lot of automations. There are a lot of values being delivered to my audience automatically with these technologies. But I'm not building it like a saleable business.
Right.
So that's one of the things in, entrepreneurship. They tell you always scale, always grow, get ready for the big exit. And,
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily need to be that way. I'm personally a lifestyle business, lifestyle design advocate, where there's 3 layers for me. What's my ideal lifestyle? What's my ideal business model? And who is my ideal client? And when I work with my ideal client, I'm enjoying my work, appreciating the impact. When I enjoy my business model and I can live my lifestyle because of the business and the profit and the revenues that are being generated, that's winning. That's winning. So the downside is not a saleable business and not a fully automated business. I'm working towards more automations and more simplicities, and it is getting more and more elegant, and that's sort of an art form in itself. But personally, I think out of all of the careers available to me, I feel like this one's the jackpot. You get to serve, you get to make a lot of money, you get to leave a legacy, you get to perform. I mean, teaching for me is like an art. And you learn, and you taking care of yourself and you investing in yourself and practicing and learning and implementing and being on the leading edge of your field is the ticket to the game. It's part of the job description. So to be a leading edge expert, you're continuing to invest in yourself, radical self-care, radical self-investment, implementation, and leadership. So it's a challenge. It's a spiritual path. It's a personal development program. And if you make it, it can be really fun.
It's one thing I think a lot of people don't always realize with things like speaking and presenting, that there's a real personal growth journey to get to on that. For me personally, it's been one of the things that's pushed me to some of the greatest personal growth experiences of my life. And I think a lot of people don't realize that that's what awaits them on that journey. They just think it's just about getting over that fear of getting on the stage in the first place. It's like, well, that's just the first step, really. Once you're there and you start getting into it, there is a wealth of things to grow and develop with, and hopefully, if you're in the right environment, also a wealth of people who can give you the encouragement and the feedback to develop in those ways.
It's a journey, John.
It
John,
definitely is.
I'd love to know more about your business and your operation and how you're making your impact.
Well, so my business is called Present Influence, and so my goal is really to be giving people the tools to be able to present primarily online these days, because that's where most people are doing their presentation work, whether that's in group meetings, coaching, trainings, creating online courses and programs, everything like that, to be able to have the personality, the confidence, the clarity of your message, and to attract the audience that is the right fit for you as well. So my goal, much like yours, is helping other people to have their impact, to be able to utilize tools of influence and persuasion. I have a sort of modernized version, an updated version of the Aristotle's sort of rhetoric plan, the modes of persuasion for online presentations. And so that's what I'm working to help people with. And that's a lot of what this podcast is about, getting people who are either interested in speaking or actually want to do it professionally, make money from it, or utilize it in their business, because I don't think it's really optional anymore to be able to present yourself well. And unless you're happy putting people to sleep or having people checking their emails whilst you're trying to communicate something, to stay relevant, you have to be somewhere in the zone of educating and entertaining, which is often called edutaining. So that's hopefully some insight into where I am and where I'm positioning myself at the moment.
Who's your ideal client, John?
Well, that's a good question. So, I primarily at the moment have been focusing on working with business coaches and consultants, and so I'm still very much focused on working with that group. I think it's wonderful people. At the moment, I'm still exploring what the actual demand is there, and considering also perhaps moving into. I've had some great results working with people in the world of engineering. And so might actually might actually shift my attention at some point in time. This is something I've actually been thinking a lot about recently, Majeed. So it's interesting that you bring that up.
So, John, would you say that you are a public speaking coach?
Yes, primarily,
Okay.
yes.
So you are watch this, John. So there's the, for, and who. You are the public speaking coach for engineers who want to deliver better presentations at work. The, for, and who. So, or the public speaking coach for business coaches who want to create a stampede of new clients every time they make a presentation.
See, I've been knowing that there was something maybe a bit missing from my message, and just this morning I was putting it out to the universe, sort of thing. I really need some help on this.
Good. Well, it's
Hello.
my philosophy that if you have a clear ideal client,
yeah,
then you can have a really dialed in message that makes that ideal client go, wow, that's exactly what I need. So what I do, John, is I say I'm the world's only public speaking coach for functional medicine doctors who want to attract high ticket clients from free presentations they deliver online.
That's incredible. So, okay, so I'm having a bit of a flush because I've had a big moment of realization, and so thank you. And I'm going to be listening to this back and coming back and taking notes again straight afterwards. But yeah, that's incredible. So that's really powerful for anyone who's I guess wanting to do any kind of speaking or even coaching work. Really, that message is a super important part of it. And if you're not clear on that, you're going to probably find yourself in some of the wastelands that I've kind of felt like I've been in a bit recently, putting out lots of great content, but maybe sort of not feeling completely directed with it.
Yeah, if you imagine it like a laser that goes from your screen to like the heart of your ideal client, and they go, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I need. I'll give you another framework if you like.
Sure.
When someone says, what do? You can answer with this one sentence using this framework that gets your ideal client to go, oh my goodness, that's exactly what I need. And the framework is, you know how, problem, what I do, solution. 4 parts. You know how, problem, what I do, solution. So I go like this. You know how holistic doctors like to give presentations about, how to lose weight or how to heal your gut, but sometimes they don't know what to do or they don't know how to get the right people to show up to those presentations? Well, what I do is I help them deliver a killer presentation that creates a stampede of new high-ticket clients every time they deliver their powerful, dramatic presentation. I'm the public speaking coach for functional medicine doctors. So you know how, problem, what I do, solution. So you could say, so for you, would you do this for a business coach or engineers?
I think I still like the business. I like both as avatars, but I think I still like working with business coaches very much. I've had lots of really amazing results with them.
So you're the public speaking coach for business coaches.
I like that. Okay, so this is the kind of consultation that you would generally pay big bucks for, I think. So I'm feeling very privileged right now.
Well, let's go one layer deeper. Someone taught me about niche. She goes, so let's say you're a sales trainer. Okay, you got competition. Let's say you're a sales trainer for financial advisors. Okay, now there's not that much competition. Now you're the sales trainer for financial advisors who sell using the phone. You're the phone guy, phone sales for financial advisors. Okay, now you're a category of one. Now you're unique, right? So let's do that for you. You're the public speaking coach for business coaches who.
That's a tougher one, right?
Who want to make 7 figures.
Yeah, who want to have tons of new high ticket clients.
Okay, new high ticket clients. Yeah. I am John Ball, the public speaking coach for business coaches who want to get a whole bunch of new high ticket clients.
I like it. I like the sound of that.
There you go. I like the sounds of that too.
It sounds a lot more solid. And so I know for anyone who's watching or listening into this, that this is really powerful. I mean, yes, it's helping me, but also this is a framework that anyone can apply. And so is this a framework that you have developed over experience, or that discovered through working with people?
So, I've worked with about 300 clients through my company called the Expert Speaker Institute. And we develop for our clients and with our clients a signature speech. And in doing so, you have the perfect speech that gets your ideal client to go, whoa, this is my guy. I got to hire this guy. And in order to land those kinds of speeches, you sort of have to have a bit of a personal brand. So that when people are booking you, they're like, oh yeah, he's the public speaking guy for business coaches. Or, oh, she's the acupuncturist for cancer, right? So we call this the superhero name. And the superhero name, it's usually starts with a the. I like to have a the because it immediately says one and only. You're the public speaking coach for business coaches. One and only.
Yeah.
You're not a public speaking coach for business coaches. That means there are several. And how are we comparing? And if we can't tell the difference, they're commodities, and commodities compete on price. You want to be a category of one, the world's only public speaking coach for business coaches who really love trucks or whatever is maybe unique about you, John, or, who want to work with someone in the UK. I assume you're in the UK, John? Yes.
I'm not. No, I'm from the UK. I'm from England, but I live in Valencia in Spain.
Oh, cool. Oh, nice. Okay, cool. I'm currently in Denver, Colorado.
Oh, I know Denver very well. That's not where you're from, but is that where you're now based, or?
I got in last night from Austin, Texas, but I live in Canada.
Okay. Fantastic. These are all places I love. In fact, a very dear friend of mine is currently in Austin, Texas, and I particularly love Canada and have lots of. In fact, was introduced to you through some of my Canadian friends, so that was very cool too. Excellent. I want to ask you about for yourself the first time you ever got paid to speak on a stage. Do you remember what you spoke about, and how did it go?
Okay, it was the most ridiculous thing, John. I thought the first thing you do in business is just print business cards. This is back, I don't know if it was like this for you in the UK or wherever you were. There's a company called Vistaprint.
Yes.
That you could get free business cards. You just had to pay like $7 of shipping. And on the back of the card, it would say printed for free at vistaprint.com. And so it was proof that you really didn't have any money when you got your business cards, right?
Yeah.
And so I had these business cards made up that said Majeed Mogharreban speaker. And I was saying to people I wanted to give a speech. And someone said, there's a retirement home. And some of the old people have been arguing with each other. And could you maybe put on a presentation about like how to deal with like conflict? And I said, sure. And I got some props. I got a bunch of Ziploc bags and tea bags, and I got 2 tea bags and put them in a Ziploc bag. And I passed them out to each person. I said, look, you make yourself a tea for yourself and one for your mortal enemy here at the retirement home. Have a conversation with them and realize that you have things in common. And I went on to present whatever I could think of to come up with. And at the end, to thank me, they gave me a $25 gift certificate to Starbucks. It was the first time I got paid. And I was trying to get into an association called the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers. And in order to become a candidate member, you have to have been paid 10 times. And I contact the organization. I said, can I count this? And they said, yes, you can count this. So I'm like trying to get into some club. And the first time I'm getting a Starbucks gift card. And the next time I think I got $150 to present something like a time management workshop at the Catholic Immigration Center in Ottawa. So it was piece by piece until I got my membership into the club. And what really took me off on the revenue side was getting partnerships with training companies. And training companies have a catalog of courses that they deliver for 1 or 2 or 3 days and pay you per day. So it's like one client and you might get 20, 30, 40, 50 days out of the year from that client. That was a game changer for me in terms of consistent revenue getting paid to speak.
Yeah. So I'm imagining that the sort of piecemeal strategy that you started off with probably isn't what you teach people to do now. Would that be right?
Well, here's what I learned. I learned that the speaking business is a lousy business if your product is a speech. Right. And you have to deliver the speech, especially if you have to deliver the speech in person. You're selling a 60-minute performance that takes 3 days to get there if it's out of town. What I found was that as I was building my business as a speaker, I was getting side projects. I was getting people asking me to coach them. I was getting people asking me to do consulting with them. I was getting people to ask me to train their staff. And at the end of each year, I would add up all of my revenues by source for my accountant to figure out how much tax I owe. And I realized as I'm looking at all of the different clients, every single one of them met me because I was giving a speech somewhere. So in other words, all of my client relationships start with me speaking. So I realized kind of by accident that it's a decent marketing platform for someone selling services. Like I was sort of like a boutique consultant. I could do a project here. I could do some coaching there, like just like piecemeal business. And then one day I had an opportunity to speak to a room of about 100 lawyers and accountants. And I thought I could really sell some training for these offices. Like I know they got staff. I know they're going to need training. So I came up with an offer. It was a paid keynote. But I decided I'm going to make an offer. And at the time I was watching internet product launch formula, 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, bonus. And while supplies last and crazy double bonus. And so I basically put together this like internet marketing kind of pitch from stage. And it says all this value adds up to like $197,000 in
That's 207. Yeah.
And then I cross it off and it's like 4,997 in the color green. Because I heard if it's green, they buy. If it's a 7, they buy. And so I had basically a $5,000 offer. And I go like that. And it's on the screen. And there's 100 lawyers and accountants of high net worth individuals at this conference that I just delivered a 60-minute keynote called Getting Paid to Do What You Love. And now I'm making a $5,000 offer for training in their staff. You could hear a pin drop in the room. And then a guy in the front row starts laughing louder and louder and louder. And I look down in the corner and I see my client in the front row, hands over his face, so embarrassed for me. And I was like, oh crap, I have no idea what to do now. Like I don't have a team with clipboards in the back of the room to take the stampede of leads.
Yeah.
And so I haven't passed out any forms like to fill out or anything. There's 100 people in the audience. And I just said like, I'll be out in the hall. And that was a total fail. Total fail. And I feel like I embarrassed myself in front of my client instead of just delivering a keynote and not making a failed pitch. So I didn't know what to do. I just thought that I could make a pitch and get some results. So the embarrassment and the failure drove me to study and take people's programs and read people's books and put together my own formula that checks off all the boxes of what I call the invisible checklist. So when you're sitting in the audience, you got an invisible checklist. Checklist goes, I like this guy. Boom. This guy's like me. Boom. I think this guy gets me. Boom. This guy understands my struggle. Boom. This guy knows how to solve my struggle. Boom. He's teaching me how to solve my struggle. I like this guy. Boom. I want to work with this guy. Boom. I want to spend money on this guy. Boom. I want to work with him right now. And when it's all checked, the sale's made. So I wanted to know, is there a combination of words and sounds that you can make that get your ideal client to go, okay, I'm working with this guy. I'm hiring this guy within 10 minutes, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that's what I teach. And I focus on teaching holistic doctors that, simply because it's a niche that I enjoy working with. My ideal client, holistic doctors, it makes it so easy for me to position myself as the world's only. And I get to be on a very small speaker circuit, such that when I get on a call with an ideal client, they say, I keep seeing you everywhere. And I'm not advertising, because there's such a small community of this focused niche of my ideal client.
Where do you see people mostly going wrong? I mean, the experience you share, you're not the only person who's ever done that, right? And I've definitely had that kind of experience on webinars. I don't think I've ever had that on a live stage, but certainly some other embarrassing situations. But you learn from them for sure. But where do you mostly see people going wrong with these kinds of things?
You know, I should not have just winged it. I didn't really wing it. I actually got some advice, but I think it was bad advice. Where I see people going wrong is they don't want to be salesy because they don't want to make people uncomfortable. And that's because they get uncomfortable when people are salesy to them.
Right.
So it means they have some mindset issues with money, about spending it, about being sold to, because if they feel uncomfortable hearing an offer, they're not going to want to make an offer. They got to love to hear offers. And I think as a speaker, coming from the old guard of the keynote, the purists, the keynote performers who say an offer has no place in a performance like a keynote, right? Well, I think if a speaker says, I'm successful when I get a standing ovation and everyone says that was so beautiful and I cried, I think it's actually unethical to inspire and motivate and not give people the tools to get to where they want to now go. So to not make an offer is unethical. An offer is not to trick anybody. It's not to pressure anybody. It's not designed to make people feel uncomfortable. It's an invitation for a unique opportunity. You can give an incentive while you're here. You get this special bonus, this special discount. You got to tell them, why should I buy now? Why should I buy from you? Why should I buy your product or program? Why should I buy at today's price? And why should I buy from your company? These are what I would call the 5 why buy questions. And so I always make an offer. I'll tell you, the first time I made an offer, I had just built an online course. Took me forever, 2 years of looking at cameras and lights and editing and just dilly-dallying for 2 years until finally I had it done. Okay, it's recorded, it's on, hosted. I launched it to my list of 1,200 people and I made 1 sale. And I was like, crap, now I don't know what to do. How do I sell this thing? So the next week, I'm delivering a 15-minute speech at the Rotary Club, at this cafeteria in this municipal building that was just real hodgepodgey. And there's a motley crew of 12 young, old, private sector, public sector, super random. And I give a 15-minute talk on how to make handshakes and eye contact and remember people's names. And then I said, if you like that and you want to learn more, this is what I said exactly. I said, raise your hand if you got value from today's presentation. Raise your hand. Okay, great. Raise your hand if you would like more. Raise your hand. Okay, great. For those of you who want more, I have a brand new 3-hour training on networking. And it's normally $500. I'm passing out a piece of paper because you guys are in Rotary Club and because you're here today. I want to give you something special. $200 discount. Would you please take out your pen and cross off the $500 number and write the number 300? Now at the bottom, you put your credit card number, just write it down and today's date and sign it. And I'm going to send you access to the $500 course for only $300 today. For those of you who don't want the course, but you'd like to join my newsletter, my email newsletter, please fill out the form and check the box that says, yes, I'm interested. And I had this form that said, yes, I'm interested in the newsletter. Sign me up. Yes, I'm interested in bringing Majeed in to speak to my company or my group. Please follow up with me on this. Yes, I think I might be interested in one-on-one coaching with Majeed. So checkbox and checkbox just to get leads. And then this new thing for the first time ever at this Rotary Club meeting, credit card number at the bottom, okay? So everyone pulls out their pen. Some people pull out their credit cards. I let them fill it out. I collect it. I shake everybody's hand. Everybody goes home. I go out to the parking lot. I haven't looked yet. I get into my Honda Accord. I close the door and I look at the first one and it was not a sale. And I looked at the next one and it was not a sale. And I looked at the next one, it was not a sale. And I was kind of feeling a little down. Yeah. The next one was a sale. I saw the credit card numbers. Next one's a sale. Next one's a sale. Next one's a sale. I made 6 sales, $300 each. And I didn't leave the parking lot before I processed all the payments and sent all. So I sent coupon codes. Here's the link to my course. Here's the coupon code because you've paid it because I processed it through the Square app on my phone, manually entering the numbers, paying 3.75%. And before I drove out of that driveway, out of that parking lot, I had $1,800. And at the time, I was making a salary of every 2 weeks, I would get this little carbon copy pay stub. And you peel away one and it says, this is how much number we were supposed to pay you. This is minus the taxes, minus the taxes, minus the taxes. Your salary every 2 weeks deposit into your bank account is $918.37. $918 every 2 weeks after taxes was what I was making. And so I just made 2 full paychecks in the parking lot from a 15-minute speech and an online course and a piece of paper and an app on my phone that can process payments. And a beast was born. I'm like, I am never going to give a speech again without an order form. And the next time I did a speech, I was paid to do a full day training of time management in a neighboring town. There was about 50 entrepreneurs showed up. At the end of the day, I had an order form. It says, I'm doing a 3-day retreat at the spa, $1,500, fill this out. I didn't have a date. I was just going to see if this is going to work. And 3 people signed up for it at $1,500. So I was paid $3,000 to deliver the deal. And then I got $4,500 on top. And my first 3 clients for my $1,500 retreat at the spa. And so, man, the order form, the offer, making the offer at the end of the speech, it's such an amplifier on income and opportunity.
I think in my experience personally, and many people who I work with as well, that's often the point where people trip up on themselves and go from maybe the sort of teaching mode into this salesy mode. And you kind of hit on that with your experience earlier as well. How do you stop yourself getting in or having this sort of sudden switch of personality and going from hey, I'm giving you great information, now I'm going to sell you something?
Yeah, good. Well, all right. So we think of ourselves as teachers first, not salespeople, right?
Yeah.
Although my mentor, who I mentioned, who went to Singapore and said, let me train your sales team for 2 weeks. He's got this bit where he's like, at the beginning of the speech, stand up if your company needs sales to survive. Everyone stands up. And he says, okay, now stay standing, but sit if you're not a sales professional. If you're in the sales business, if you're in the sales part of your business. And then most of the people sit down. And then he says, now sit down unless you are a full-time sales professional. And most other people sit down. And then there's some people sitting around. He goes, look around. If you're not standing, you're in big trouble. You're in big trouble in business, because if you're not a full-time sales professional all the time, whether it's communication, whether it's leadership, whether it's selling, so I think firstly, to identify as a sales professional is helpful.
Yeah. To
have your definition of what is being salesy and what is selling. Well, I like this definition. There's many. There's the transference of enthusiasm. There's mine is helping people make the right decision. And helping people make the right decision is something that a teacher or an advisor or a coach or a counselor can do very well. And it's very valuable, right? It's not about telling you all about my features and benefits. It's not about convincing you to buy and buy now. It's helping you make the right decision. So I've found that there are really only 4 decisions that you can choose. And helping them decide between those 4 decisions unbiasedly can be really helpful. So would you like to know what those 4 options are, John?
I would love to, and I'm sure anyone watching or listening is saying, yes, please, Majeed,
Good.
tell us.
So option number 1 is you can do nothing. And do nothing is not a bad strategy. Sometimes it's hard to do nothing. But if you do nothing, what will happen? Will things get worse? Will things get better? So don't fool yourself into thinking that you're going to do something later. Know that you're making a choice to do nothing now. So that's choice number 1, is do nothing. Choice number 2 is do it yourself. And do it yourself is you take the time, you learn it, you study it on YouTube, you buy all the books, you interview people on your podcast to get the nuggets, and you figure it out without spending a penny. That's do it yourself. So it turns out that do it yourself is almost always the slowest and the most expensive and the most painful.
Yeah.
You don't need to get an education in blood, sweat, and tears just to get anything done. Instead of asking yourself, how do I do this? Ask yourself instead, who can I get to do this for me? Or who can I get to help me do this way better, way faster? Which leads us to option number 3, spending money on some solution. So whether that solution is a product or a program or a consultant or an employee or a software, you're paying for some solution. And then option number 4 is hire me or buy what I'm selling, right? So in the case of one of my clients who might be looking for a public speaking coach, they might say, I'm going to do nothing. I'm just going to decide to let my dreams die. I'm never going to be a speaker. I'm making the choice. Rarely do they ever have that honest of a choice of do nothing. Do nothing usually sounds like now's not a good time.
Yeah.
Do it yourself is, the continuous studier, the continuous student, the self-starter, the I'm going to figure this out one way or another kind of person. And then option number 3 in my world might be like, they spend $200 and join a Toastmasters group. And then option number 4 is they get the world's best coach for functional medicine doctors who want to sell high-ticket healthcare programs with great free speeches. That's me. So in sales, we're illuminating these 4 options. Do nothing, do it yourself, hire someone else or spend money on a different solution, or hire me. And we help them make the decision that's right for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. And it makes sense. Those are kind of the processes you tend to encounter, the objections you tend to get. Oh, I'll figure it out. I can't afford it right now. I haven't got time, whatever it is. But yeah, there's no doubt that working with the right people and having the access to the right information with people who not only have done that, but are already helping other people to achieve these things themselves is going to get you there so much quicker. And one of the reasons why I know a lot of people in coaching, so I find it amazing that I know lots of people in coaching who don't have coaches and don't pay for coaches, or that they just do coaching swaps with their buddies. And it's like, no, you really do need to pay somebody for your coaching, someone who's at a level above where you are, and that can help you get up to that next level. Otherwise, you're going to kind of stick there. Whatever it is that you want, whatever it is you need coaching or training or development in, get someone who's on the next level, who's teaching people how to get there to help you do it. And the road is going to be so much smoother. Yeah.
Coaching, people who invest in coaching tend to shorten their timelines and reduce their mistakes, reduce their errors. And I think it's not everybody's primary strategy to excel and succeed. It works for some people really, really well. And paying, like you said, instead of swapping or bartering, I do think it represents a deeper level of commitment. Yeah. I find for me personally, barter situations, they just never end up as serious as paid relationships.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a different dynamic for sure. I mean, I would say I have both. I like to do some coaching swaps, but I know that sometimes when I do coaching swaps with some of my buddies, it's sometimes a bit more of a chat than it is a coaching session.
Sure.
Whereas when I'm doing coaching with my coach, it's like, no, we're all business. Is we're not here to talk about what's going on at home, where that the dog's not feeling well or anything like that. It's like, no, we're here for business, so let's get down to it. It's a big difference and much more focused for me, in my experience, and I generally find that with clients who I work with as well. That's super important to have that relationship, and the stuff that you give away for free that so many people do in their earlier days doesn't get valued anywhere near as highly as the stuff that people pay a lot of money for, in my experience.
It's true.
So I do want to, I mean, there's so many things I would like to ask you, but we have a limit on the time we have available. Right now, really, probably most of the strategies for people who want to make money or make more money from speaking need to be at least primarily online for the time being, until live events and stuff come back more fully. What would you recommend people should be thinking about or focusing on to develop themselves as speakers in the online arena?
I certainly agree with you that everything is more online now. And as someone who I held a live event in 2020 in October for about 12 people. And it was hard to get people out. There's all sorts of new limitations and risks and expectations and culture where, I got quite a few last minute cancellations. And that's very much understandable because there are now so many domino impacting things. Oh, my cousin got COVID and then I better isolate and we're going to see grandma next week when I get back. So I better not go, all this, right?
Yeah.
So, I would not be building a business dependent on live events right now. So where does that leave us? We have tools like this. I'm currently traveling and I have a light here that I'm shining on my face. It's a full spectrum light to keep the positive vibes and also just, for interview situations like this, but I don't have an external microphone. And, you can have just a smartphone and build a speaking business. Don't need a laptop, don't need anything else. Don't need a special microphone.
But you do need an audience.
You need an audience, exactly. And so that's the most important decision I think one should make early on is, who is this speaking business for? Who are these presentations for? And when we know the who, then we can say, what's the biggest challenge that keeps them up at night such that my service or speech would be exactly what they needed to learn about and hear about right now in such a way that inspires them to hire me. And so then if you're building a business now, like the easiest service to offer today is coaching, because coaching is an agreed upon future outcome that we're going to deliver over weeks or months of meetings and conversations and frameworks and tools and support. But they're buying an outcome. And you don't need to build a program. For people who want to sell something that's a little bit more hands-free, a little bit more automated, like a course, the biggest mistake I've seen people make is they wait until the course is built to sell it. That's what I did. I took 2 years to sell the course. To build the course, I took 2 years. And then that was just, I needed to have built it in order to be able to sell it. But then I couldn't sell it. And the first course I built was the networking course. Sold it to one person on my list, sold it to a group of Rotary clubs, and I sold it to a couple other Rotary clubs, but that was about it. Manually selling it with a form, fill it out, and I'm processing payment on my phone because I didn't know how to get magical people from the internet to come and buy my $500 course. But I knew how to get people to buy it at the end of a speech. The second course I built was on sales, called Selling with Heart. And when I first launched it, actually, I called it 10X Your Service Sales, 10X Your Service Sales. Kind of clunky name, 10X Your Service Sales. And
Great Grant Cardone kind of style.
I think I just read a Grant Cardone book, and I was like, oh, this is brilliant. I'll just copy that exactly. And so, yeah, 10x your service sales. I got 6 people to pay me $3,000. And I delivered the course over 6 weeks. And so I had already made $18,000 on this course before I ever even built it. And so I built it for them and recorded it for them. And then I got another cohort and re-recorded everything. And then for a third time, I hired a professional camera crew, and I got about 15 people to show up at my house for like $200. And for $200, I said, you're going to watch me film this course in a day. You'll see how I build a course in a day. You'll learn from me for $200. I'll take you out to lunch in the middle of the day on break. So I'll have a live audience. And then at the end of the day, I pitched $5,000 coaching program, and I got one person to sign up for that. So basically I made, I don't know, $7,000, $8,000 on the day I filmed it in a day, which was version 3 after delivering it live for 2 actual groups of people, starting with selling it. So my advice for anybody who wants to build or sell a course right now is to start by selling it. And the delivery of that sold program is the first draft of the speech, and build for version 3, or not the speech, the course. And your course that you're going to polish and be proud of for the rest of your life is going to be version 3. I learned that concept from Eben Pagan. He said, you're going to build a course, build for version 3. It's like, oh, okay. So the first 2 versions are like not going to be permanent. Because the first course I ever built, I was like, it's got to be perfect the first time.
Right.
And so I built it in a vacuum. I didn't know how to sell it. So made all the mistakes and took 2 years doing it. So I desperately try to help people who want a course right now. It's like, please stop building it.
Done is better than perfect, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Better get the sales, get out of I mean, the bigger ones, I know that if ever I want to put on a live event or something like that I know I just have to put the date in and promote it. Because whether people show up or not, it's locked in. It has to happen. The preparation has to happen. You know, it's on the table, and usually something ends up happening because of that. Whereas if I just say, oh, I'll wait till I've got it done, and then I'll start promoting it, then I know that other things are going to come along, and sometimes end up getting prioritized instead of that, and it doesn't always happen. So yeah, I think that's great, and I particularly like the idea of creating online courses and programs for the 3rd version of it. Gets you straight out of that perfectionism trap. Love it.
I learned a method from Jeff Walker called the seed launch, and he teaches this in his free content. And he says, so imagine you're going to build a course and it's 6 modules. Module 1 sort of like orientation overview. Module 6 is sort of like the, plan of action. And then 2, 3, 4, 5 is sort of like this process, the system, right? And he says, get a group, collect some payment from them for some commitment, get a group that you're going to teach this to. And let's say you're going to teach on Tuesdays, and you're going to do Q&As on Thursdays. An hour on Tuesday, an hour on Thursday. On Monday, you survey them. Hey, listen, first day we're talking about these, and these. What do you need help with on these things? Tell me about your challenges. And you're basically gathering the content from them. They tell you what they need. And so you build it, you give them what they need. And then after the Tuesday teaching, you hit them with the survey. What'd you like? What'd you not like? What'd you want to see that you didn't see? Etc. And then you do a Q&A on Thursday, and you're hearing their questions, you're recording their questions, and by the end of the first week, you have basically co-created and prototyped module 1. Survey, delivery, survey, Q&A. Do it again next week, and next week for 6 weeks. And you've basically co-created a version 1, and looking back you go, okay, so this is what the kind of arc of the course is. This is where things fit in. Now I can understand the handouts and the flows, and let's do it again, version 2.
Love it. This is all gold, and I have a brain full of questions that we just don't have time for. So I can see myself inviting you back again in the future if you'd be willing to come back again another time, Majeed. But I do want to make sure that anyone watching or listening knows how to find out more about you.
Yeah, you can get my book for free at expertspeakerbook.com. Expertspeaker.com is my website where you can book a strategy call with me if you're interested in coaching to build a signature speech. So expertspeakerbook.com or expertspeaker.com.
Fantastic. And so I do like to often ask people for a book recommendation. So obviously your book would be a good one for you to recommend. But is there another book, like something you've read recently or something like this? Oh, this is one I would send to anyone and say, you must read this book.
You know,
on the spot.
Speaking of Grant Cardone, love him or hate him, I read this book called The Closer's Survival Guide on audiobook, and you get to hear Grant Cardone's Louisiana twang, and he's like a car salesman, and he can close a sale in 100 different ways, and just close after close after close that you can practice and repeat. And so I still use a few of those, but the concept of being ready to respond with a pre-rehearsed response, that you've kind of taken the emotion out of that moment. Because that moment when you're selling your services and they're not like ready to buy, reading off the credit card, they've got objections. I don't know, maybe I need more time. I need to think about it. I need to talk to my husband, all those things. To help people overcome that moment and to close the sale and to celebrate and to help move them through. It's one of the most important things in sales. And it's one of the hardest things if you don't have training and the right mindset. And so that book taught me how to respond to a lot of the common objections to help people through to the decision of a yes or a no.
Great. I'm going to check it out. And I've never read any of Grant's books, but you're not the first person I've had as a guest on the show who's recommended him. So I feel it might be time. And I guess maybe some of the recent stuff has been around about him as perhaps put me off, and maybe I shouldn't be letting it. So I'm going to check that out. Just before we do finish out, is there any final words you'd like to leave everyone with today?
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes is to begin. 3 words. And if you're thinking about getting into the speaking business, my 4-word speaking business motto is it's to speak more, speak more. That's 5 words. To speak more, speak more. The more you speak, the more you speak. Yeah. So we're walking around with an international broadcast studio in our smartphone, and there's no reason why we can't speak to our audiences live and the people in the future. When we know who we're trying to reach, then we know what stages to get on to deliver the right speeches to influence the people that we want to reach. So it's never been a better time. So to begin.
Absolutely. Majeed, this has been gold, and I'm definitely going to be trying to make sure as many people as possible listen to this episode, and I'm going to be playing it back probably multiple times because there were so many nuggets and knowledge bombs in there, and I really appreciate you giving up some of your time to come and share with me today on the show. So thank you, Majeed Mogharreban. It's been a real pleasure.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, John.